First segment we have from Timcast.com. James O'Keefe and media group sued by Project Veritas Action Committee. The Project Veritas founder allegedly ran amok, put his own interests ahead of the outlet. Former CEO and founder of Project Veritas, James O'Keefe, has been sued by his former outlet. O'Keefe Media Group and two former employees of Project Veritas, R.C. Maxwell and Anthony Iatropoulos, am I pronouncing that right? Iatropoulos?
I believe so, yeah.
Are also included in the lawsuit for allegedly breaching their contracts for the benefit of OMG. They say O'Keefe allegedly ran amok and put his own interests ahead of Veritas, which asserted the outlet's founder failed in his duties and caused serious and significant damage, according to the lawsuit, which includes Project Veritas Action Group as a plaintiff. The lawsuit notes O'Keefe was suspended but not removed as a member from his former role in Project Veritas as CEO and president of Project Veritas Action Fund on February 6th. So I want to just simplify this. They're saying that, James, you, in the lawsuit, you have no right to start a company. You have no right to do the work you've done. And this was the shocking thing to me. The work that you have historically done before Veritas, during Veritas, and now after, they say is proprietary to Project Veritas. Mm-hmm. So what's going on in your words?
Ooh.
How's life?
How's life? That's a macro question. May I take a couple minutes to just say a few things?
Oh yeah, say whatever you want. Like grab that microphone.
Monologue it maybe.
There you go.
Let me just tell you a story. How about that? And I'll end with the answer to your question. I've been doing this for about 15 years. I started in college, so I guess that's probably more like 20 years. But in a major way, 15 years. And along the way, I have been, there's been a lot of arrows sent my way and at my team, because when you're the tip of the spear, you just get a lot of flack, right? I think we all know that. And then maybe these days it's directly proportional to the amount of flack you get. But I mean, I have been, way back when I received a letter from Planned Parenthood threatening to jail me for working with Lila in California because of the statute 632 of the penal code. I did the Acorn story with Andrew Breitbart, Hannah Giles. They sued me for recording in Maryland. I had to raise money to pay lawyers. I was arrested by the FBI in January of 2010, falsely accused. They said I entered under false pretense, even though I showed my ID. I spent 3 years on federal probation. And it is while I was on federal probation that I founded Project Veritas in a garage with like no money, credit card debt, negative equity. It was against all odds. And while on federal probation, starting that company, I was sent criminal grand jury subpoenas by the state of New Hampshire in 2011, 2012 for exposés in New Hampshire. I was sued countless times for defamation, including one by Shirley Teeter. I won that in federal district court at jury verdict, and nobody reported on it. I mean, I could go on and on with the amount of flack and arrows that my colleagues and I have taken. There was one story where I was chased down the highway by a teachers union official in New Jersey, chased down the highway. So now they run away from me, but back then they followed me on Interstate 80 in New Jersey. Alyssa Ploshnik was her name. And all the defamation that almost makes you want to just say, I can't do this anymore, particularly if you're sane and rational. And I could go on, and I don't say these things to come across like I'm a victim. That's not what I'm getting at. I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. I say it because of the human aspects of it. It's different. It's different when you're taking on all these arrows. It hits differently when the arrows come from the people that are ostensibly supposed to be your allies. I've taken a lot of arrows. I never thought I'd be taking them in the back. It just feels different. There's a great article by Dr. Malone, which I want to talk about with you. We'll talk about that later. But I want to say that I agree with you, Tim, that I feel untethered. I think you said this back in, I think it was March or April.
Yeah.
I feel free. After Jobs was fired from Apple, he said, I entered one of the most creative periods of my life. I didn't have the weights that buried me down. In many ways, this is a blessing. So I feel liberated. I'm very excited about what I'm doing. I've got 1,100 people on a CRM, citizen journalists around the country.
Wow.
And I'm dispatching them. That's something that I wasn't doing previously. So I'm very inspired. I'm very hopeful, and I've decided to kind of take the high road here. I think I need to do that for myself. This is I'm still going through this, whatever this is, and I'm learning about human nature. And of all the things I've learned, I probably learned mostly about like board maintenance. I didn't really, you know, most people don't realize 501c3s are run by boards. They're not owned by anybody, and that creates its own issues. And I never really paid attention to that part of it. I ran Project Veritas like I was the owner, even though I wasn't. I took responsibility for everything. So it's difficult to watch your own creation and lifeblood attack you. And I've moved on because that's what I've been asked to do. So we're in a very strange situation in space and time right now, and there's a lot to unpack. But that's in a nutshell where we are.
So what's up with this? When did you learn of the lawsuit? I mean, this is dropped today, right?
I learned because Will Sumner of the Daily Beast called my phone. And whenever Will Sumner from the Daily Beast calls you, it's usually not, hey.
You gave him your number?
Hey, everyone's got my phone number. Yeah, that's when I learned of it.
Oh, wow. So, well, do you want to, do you have, I don't know if you can actually say anything. I mean, the obvious thing is when you're being sued, you just don't talk about it because you've got to say it in court.
Well, that's the process is the punishment.
Right.
So I was raided by the FBI in November 2021, and the process is the punishment because, and I talked about it, but that's the thing. The lawyers say don't talk about it.
Yep.
And I have to make executive decisions about what I can and should say, and that's what this whole thing is designed to do. It's designed to shut me down and silence me. This is not the first time I've been through this.
So I went through the lawsuit a little bit, and I have it here. I have it pulled up actually. And their relief. Let me show you the prayer for relief. This is what Project Veritas is asking of the court. It says, declare O'Keefe in breach of his employment agreement in violation of his fiduciary duties and in violation of his duty of loyalty. Declare Eatropoulos in breach of... What's up?
Do you want me to bring this up?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Declare Eatropoulos in breach of the Eatropoulos agreement. Declare Maxwell in breach of the Maxwell agreement. Declare OMG to have tortiously interfered with the employment agreement, the Eatropoulos agreement, the Maxwell agreement. Declare O'Keefe to have misappropriated plaintiff's trade secrets. That's big right there. Declare O'Keefe liable to indemnify plaintiff for the cost of defense and or liabilities arising from actions taken by him or his errors or omissions. Issue a preliminary and permanent injunction enjoining O'Keefe and OMG from soliciting or contacting plaintiff's donors, employees, or contractors, disparaging plaintiffs, obtaining, using, or disclosing plaintiff's confidential information, and keeping and failing to return plaintiff's property. Now, some of these things, I understand, like you got to give the property back if you have any, whatever that may be about. But there's some things here that are the trade secrets. What you need to understand in this is, here, you can respond if you can or want to. The way I see it, James, you started Project Veritas. You brought trade secrets. They then, it seems like an institutional capture with one of these guys on the board apparently having pronouns in his bio or something. All of a sudden, they're telling you, you're locked up, you're suspended, stop doing your work. So you go off and do your own thing. And then they say, nope, we own those. Everything that you built, we own. Every technique, all the methodology, those are ours and you can never use them again. That effectively says the methods of James O'Keefe can never be used by James O'Keefe again.
And the money that was raised and that I raised, taking lots of black cars around to raise it. I don't know if you get the inside joke there, but they say there's black cars are inappropriate, was raised to expose corruption and now is being used in an effort to stifle my efforts to expose corruption.
I want to add to this.
So how does that work?
The black cars thing. They say that
black cars.
You drive around in these like SUVs or whatever that are very expensive. I'll tell you guys a story. We did an event in New York and we had very serious security threats. We had security running around the building looking for individuals who we believe were involved in very serious threats and swatting and things like that. So when the event wraps, and they're like, here's your exit, Mr. Poole. I'm like, yo, there's like 100 people out there and we're under like tight security conditions. So I need to like get out. James says, I have a vehicle for this reason. Come with me. And then James brings me into an SUV. There's a reason why you have vehicles like this. To use that against you when you are the target of threats, death threats, like ridiculous law enforcement raids.
I mean, who's funding this? What money are they using to pay for this? Is it 501c3 money? I mean,
donors who gave to Veritas are paying them to sue you.
Right? I mean, bear with me for a minute. It's going to take about 90 seconds. I want to read something to you. You know Dr. Malone, the guy who did the stories about COVID, and very smart,
fantastic,
very smart guy.
Robert Malone.
I've become pretty close to him recently. I was having dinner with him, but he wrote this a few months ago. I just want you to listen. Just bear with me for 2 minutes. Remember that story about Pfizer with the cage fight? This happened a few days after that. These are Malone's words, and I just want to read them before your audience because this is profound. He wrote this on like a Substack or something. Without knowing the details of all this, this episode has all the earmarks of a terrible institutional problem in nonprofits that we've seen many times before. All it takes is a remarkable success, big infusion of money, a weak, jealous, confused board using disgruntled employees as shields. The board develops a backwards-looking focus, taking apart the success. Why did management take those risks? Why did the head of the organization not consult with us? Why didn't the head of the organization follow industry established practices? How come the organization's president did not do something different than what he did to establish long-term success, which is a word that they used, long-term success? I remember there's one time I raised $1 million and they said, well, you could have raised 10 million if you did something differently. I was like, what?
And why did they do it?
Above all, why is this guy getting all the attention? Other insiders in the company start consulting with the board, and the plot is hatched. All it takes is an investigation. Some claim the guy at the top is making everyone work too hard. And then people get burned out. You can fill in the blanks with complaints, and there's always something somewhere. The scheme usually involves claims of financial nonsense, such as office parties or helicopter rides. Once the decision is made to oust the guy, he really has no chance. All that remains is the need to find a pretext. Next thing you know, the unthinkable happens. The hardest working, innovative, and most effective person is out. The board keeps the money, the disgruntled staff gets their pound of flesh, and everyone who stabbed the guy in the back gets a raise, and life goes on. I've seen this many times before at nonprofits that kill the goose that lays the golden egg. The achievements gradually die, the organization maintains some name recognition, and they become a letterhead. This is the triumph of bureaucracy over achievement. I had a founder tell me that it's actually a fight against excellence itself. It took me a while to understand what he meant by that. It's a tragedy, but unfortunately very common, particularly at hospitals and churches. And part of the problem traces to the structure of nonprofits. They're not owned by anybody. So there's a committee whose job is to hire and fire the CEO, but they're not meant to manage the company. They're supposed to put a leader in charge because you can't lead by committee. That's Stalin-esque. The board hires the president hires and fires the staff. The board is unpaid, which usually means they have no reason to be involved in the operations in the first place, but all the while they have a sense that they should be controlling things even though they rarely understand what's going on. So that was Malone, who's
Spot on.
Spot on.
The looking backwards thing's brilliant. They attacked all the things that you were doing without pointing out Veritas is extremely successful because of the things you have done and continue to do. They stop it in this single moment out of the entire context of the life of Veritas and say, look at these things he just did, instead of saying, look at the similar things he's been doing that have led to our success. So
Yes.
they can make it seem like Veritas was always where it was, and only now are these things causing problems.
Well, the moment of greatest achievement often carries the greatest risk. And it's a cliche, right? You know, you get the flack if you're over the target.
Yeah.
But what I've realized, I was just doing a Twitter Spaces downstairs, is there's a lot of evil in the world. I think the evil is getting more evil, but there's also a lot of good. And I saw a lot of, it's a blessing because I was overtaken by a sense of gratitude for all the really good people that were around me. And I was overtaken with a sense of gratitude to see who people really are. And you need to be very strong if you're going to do this. Again, another cliche. We think we know what that means. You don't know what that means until you've been raided, until you've been targeted and attacked and sued and defamed. And the more effective you are at your mission, the more those people are going to do that to the people around you. So you better surround yourself with really strong humans who can withstand blistering attacks, whether they're true or not, doesn't matter. This is kind of a allegory for, I think, what we're going through in the country right now. I think this is sort of where we are.
It feels like Veritas was captured.
Yeah.
And it seems like the purpose of this suit and everything they've done has been to stop and to silence you.
Well,
Exactly.
I've moved on. I've started a new deal. We just posted the RFK podcast, which is really great. I don't know if you've seen that. Just posted today. We talk about fear, his uncle JFK. I've got reporters as I speak, undercover everywhere. I'm trying to do my job. I'm focused on the future, and the forward-looking glass of a car is bigger than your rearview mirror.
But this is why it seems to me ideological, because you've moved on.
Well,
and look. After you leave Veritas, everybody says James O'Keefe is Veritas. People are very critical of Project Veritas. Donors came out in your defense. Everyone and Veritas their leadership, they could have come out and said, "Fine, look, guys, we want to keep doing good work. We wish James the best. You know, you may not be happy with how things went, but we're going to try and make two good things out of this instead of just a fight." The fact that they've gone after you, this says to me it is more about ideology, because if Veritas was truly trying to do good work, they would realize that this lawsuit is basically a stake in the heart of Veritas. What little was left that people believed in with Project Veritas is now completely gone because they're attacking you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if their issues with what you were doing were truly the things that they claimed they were when they ousted you, they should have no problem with you going and doing your own thing.
I got the feeling that it was personal. Like, I wasn't around you when you were going through it, but like, I imagine you were high stress and you were just like, I don't know if you were lashing out at people or like just like making demands. And then they were like, we've had enough of them. We can't take them anymore.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.